This video is going to talk a little bit about aligning imagery to a theme for Project 2. You really won't start using you're going to start collecting imagery during this module for Module 3, but really you're going to first start thinking about themes, and then you're going to pick a theme and move forward with designs in Module 4. But I do think that it helps when you start thinking about themes to just in the back of your mind start thinking about what imagery could possibly go with those themes, what imagery you would like to maybe start playing with. Maybe in your portfolio you've done a lot of photography or collage, and maybe in this case you wanted to do something more with illustration or illustrative style, or maybe you want to do something that's more type dominant, or maybe you want to just experiment with something new that you saw, a technique that you've thought to yourself, I've really wanted to do something like this. So I first wanted to kind of show a little bit more student work. This student's theme was The Great Escape, and he actually did a series of 3. And, in the 16-week courses, sometimes it's nice to be able to say, yeah, if you want to do a series, do a series. But I know in a 7-week course, it's a little faster, speedier. By no means am I limiting you. If you wanted to do a series of 3, more power to you. But he did this theme of The Great Escape, and you can see how he is bringing in film imagery. And I had mentioned in my project intro, I know anymore, you could argue everything's digital. They don't even use film anymore. They don't use film reels. But I think in the back of our minds, we still always think of that, the projector sound and the projector wheel and, the film going through the light, shining onto a projection screen. So I don't think there's anything wrong with continuing with those. We all have an association for that. So we did, the idea with escape is the idea of travel, coming to Cleveland. So he has a motorcycle, a car, and a hot air balloon. And you can see in each case, he's got the light is shining the date. And it's just a really cool, very simple, very illustrative style, but very geometric. He didn't necessarily have to be a great illustrator. It's just all about putting shapes together and creating a cool series. Another illustrative one, this student, her theme was Live to Tell. And again, she really wanted to kind of play with a more illustrative style. So she did this simple illustrations with little birds, kind of like that idea of A Little Birdie Told Me is kind of in just that, I think when she was starting to concept this project, she's thought about that idea of the telephone game, or, I think, is it called Chinese Whispers? I can't even remember. But in this case, it's just, The Little Bird Told Me, which I think is a super cute theme. And then I went further and started, and this is some of the research that you should do as well. I thought of some of the big film festivals that happen, in both in our country, and I'm sure there's film festivals internationally. So I always think of the Sundance Film Festival, and this is one, you'll see when you see movie trailers, winner of the Sundance Film Festival or whatever. So I'll post these websites, and this is just something that you can kind of look at. I don't think necessarily they ever had, themes, but you can just kind of see different, this is very kind of surreal, photographic, abstract. I really like the idea of 25 years where the next begins, and this sort of flip clock. I actually have a flip clock because I think they're so cool. Definitely abstract again, very geometric shapes. So, and then this one, Sundance is in Park City, Utah, so this sort of Western theme. The snow, which I thought was a really cool one, and you can see in here all sorts of little icons that have to do with movies and genres, and, just a lot of really creative stuff. And then I found the New York Film Festival, and this I thought was fascinating because they oftentimes had really famous artists and designers create their posters. So this is the first one from 1963, and you can totally tell that this was just probably hand-drawn, photocopied, photographed, and then reproduced. Saul Bass is a really famous designer, and he created one with his hand-drawn type. You can use hand-drawn type. I think this is another area where you could explore that. I love this idea of the film as a suitcase because, again, it's international. So, and all the different tags from the different countries. This was cool. I love this idea of the film strips. It's very abstract. But you know, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before the film starts. Liechtenstein did a poster. This is Andy Warhol who did a poster. You can kind of see his style here too. Um, and then just a bunch of others, and I'll let you guys kind of look through these. So just, you know, when you start thinking about themes, it's always good to kind of look to see what other people have done, just to get inspired by. But really the, you know, I think you can have a lot of fun with this poster. And it just, you know, a lot of creativity can go along with this as well. So I hope this little mini lecture helped. And again, I will post these two links, but I'm sure there's a bunch more that you could probably find.